afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is for you. Hi, I'm Sunflower Dawn, but you can call me Sunny D for short. And thank you so much for joining me today. This is my first ASMR video, and it should be pretty lo-fi, if you like that kind of thing. I have been wanting to make an ASMR channel since I believe I found out about it over, oh my goodness, maybe 12 years ago? Something like that. I always wanted to know what that phenomenon was, like that tingling feeling, which feels very similar to this. I've seen a lot of ASMR artists have these and compare the feeling of ASMR to this. But I feel like real ASMR is definitely better than that. Way better. But it's been over 12 years that ASMR has been in my life, and I know I'm just another creator, among the probably hundreds of thousands of creators. There's so many, but I personally have so many that I love, and it really just depends on people's voices, and sometimes, I get immune to some voices, and I give it a break, and I find another voice that I'm like, oh man, that's amazing. Their voice is really doing it for me, And so I decided, why continue waiting? I'm gonna make one, and maybe my voice can be something like that for you. So I appreciate you being here. Today I'm just gonna be rambling about random things. I have a few things next to me that I'm going to be diving into, a couple of my favorite triggers, which if you love, I can do a full video on them. And I also have a few of my books that I've been reading over the past year. So, a little thing about me is I used to love reading. I was such a reader up until, middle school, and early high school. But as soon as high school came around, it felt like a chore, and I kind of lost the love for it. It just became assignments, and that took my free time up from reading, so I didn't have a lot of energy to read for fun. And, fast forward into college, same deal. And in my early adulthood, I just got busy with life, career, marriage, family. It all kind of started, and it just got put by the wayside. But I decided last year that I was going to read more, and I did. And this probably looks like pitiful to some people that can go through a book a month, but for not having finished an entire novel in over 10 years, like having 4 of these books, and also it's not like I wasn't reading, but I would read my Bible, and that was what I told myself, like, that's all if I'm gonna read a book, it's gonna be my Bible. I'm gonna make time for that. So I would, but now I've prioritized it to the point where I can read both. I can read for fun and read my Bible. So please don't judge my choices. These books came from my mother-in-law. She got them from a place that was closing down, and so she just gave me a bunch of books, and I told myself, I'm like, okay, before I go out and buy any books, why don't I start with the books that I have in my house? Like, that only makes sense, right? So that's what I did. Now, this first one here, it's called Saving Cece. weren't, I wouldn't have finished them. But this one has kind of a vibe like The Help. If you've ever read that book or seen that movie, it's very similar. It's about this poor young girl whose mother suffered mental illness her whole life. And then, of course, Cece's young life. I believe she was 12. I read this at the beginning of 2024, so it's been a bit, but her mother suffered mental illness, and then her father was very absent. He wasn't a good father, so her mother's great aunt from the south comes and saves Cece and really immerses her in a southern culture. This was back in the 60s, I believe, and it's full of so many different characters with charm and pizzazz, and it's really good. It also touches on some of the racial divides during that time, so it's kind of a historical piece in a way, but I really recommend it. So this was a good read. The second one I read was called Heathen Girls, and this one was probably my least favorite of the four that I'm going to show you, but I finished it, so it was tolerable enough. And I say it wasn't that good because I'm having a hard time remembering what it was about. My goodness, I know it was a woman. Yes, okay. So it's about this woman whose mother dies, and she has to go back to this like southern mansion where her elderly aunts live. And while she's there, she reconnects with her cousins, her female cousins, and one of her cousins is dying of cancer. But this cousin of hers is also her arch nemesis because she stole her fiance away as she was approaching the altar, or like close to the wedding day. So there was a lot of conflict because even though she was her arch nemesis and cousin and dying, they used to be so close before that. So it was just a huge juxtaposition of feelings, and yeah, that's the gist of that one. Now, try not to judge me too much on this next one because, like I said, I read my Bible. I am a strong Christian in so many ways, so don't judge me on this. This was a romance novel, and I didn't really know that going into this book. I guess I could have assumed, I don't know, it was spicy. This is not my cup of tea. Usually it's not something I gravitate towards, so it's okay. But yeah, this was kind of like a Nicholas Sparks in a way. You know, you've got this bad boy that moves away from his hometown in Maine, and while he's gone, you know, his family moves on. You know, his siblings move on, have kids. His little brother stayed back in the town and ran the family's kind of inn or hotel, motel, cabin, bed and breakfast type place. So he comes back, and lo and behold, this gal had moved into the town. She grew up with a single mom, kind of dysfunctional, and staked roots in this town. And she bought the diner, fixed it up. She bought herself a little trailer that she lived in, and of course, you know, the rest is kind of history. He laid eyes on her. She fought him back for so long, playing hard to get, the whole 9 yards. And then eventually his pining for her leads to her giving in, and well, the rest is history. And then I get to my current read. Now, I have not finished this yet. I'm about halfway through, but this is probably the fastest I've read a book. It's the longest of the three three housewives eating bonbons. I highly recommend this one. Oh my goodness. So, I didn't think I was gonna like it, but I love it. Like, it's so good. So, this takes, it's a story of, let's see, there's Merritt, Audrey, Faith, Slip, and Kari. So there's 5 main characters in this, and every chapter is one of their stories. It takes place first person based on who it says that chapter's about. So, like, for instance, here's a chapter, and it says, this is Kari. Okay. So these 5 gals live in this suburb in initially the 60s, and they kind of live on probably a cul-de-sac. Really fun neighborhood. They all love their own neighbors. They live close to each other, and they all have very unique stories. And as you can see, there's different sections in here. I'm not sure if you can see. Anyway, I would say it's about a quarter of each part of the book is a different decade. So I'm currently right in the middle. I'm like on the cusp of the 80s, but the first one's the 60s. The second part is the 70s. The third part is the 80s. And the fourth part, I believe, will be the 90s. But like I said, I haven't got there yet. So every woman in here has such unique personalities, and this is also kind of a historical piece in many ways as you go through the decades and you hear about current events and culture at that time period. So, like I said, there's 5 characters. You've got Kari, who's the oldest of the group. She's a widower, she's a widow, sorry. Widower is the men. She's a widower, and she is such a kind, generous person who misses her husband terribly, but she's moving on. And as these 5 women create this book club, she really finds such camaraderie with them, and she is a wonderful character. And then you have Audrey, who is this seductive woman. She is very vibrant, I will say. And then you have Slip, who is this petite little curly redheaded gal, and she's super liberal, I would say. She's fiery, and she's just got a zest to her. We also have, who am I missing? Oh, Faith is a gal who's the newest to the block. She's from the South. She had a rough upbringing with her mom, single mom. Lots of dysfunction, but she's currently married to a pilot, and she's doing the best she can, so she's a great character. And last but not least, we have Merritt, who from the literature describes her as just like this beautiful, beautiful woman with an angel face, and she's very sweet and subdued because behind the scenes her husband is incredibly abusive. So reading her stories and reading about the abuse that she endures, it is kind of hard to sometimes, because I know that it's not just a story, and that does happen in real life. So really sad, but very engaging, I will say. It keeps me, like, sometimes I'll read it and I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna read a chapter and go to sleep. I'll be tired after that, and then I'm stuck awake. I'm like, I gotta keep going. So I hope you enjoyed those. Oh man, I should have brought some water with me. That was silly of me, but I'm just gonna get some lotion. I hope you guys like lotion sounds. is if you're like super crunchy. I'm pretty crunchy, but I'll tell you what, I've used things, natural things, and they just don't work as well sometimes. They make me break out, or, they just don't do what this does. Even the soap does a really good job, so that's what I use for so much of my skincare. At this point, as I'm getting older, I probably should upgrade to like better stuff, but it's fine, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine. Oh well. Okay. Now, last but not least of the things that I have sitting next to me, I have a thing for like gloves. That's one of my favorite triggers. I've got blue ones. And I have some black ones. So I'm just going to put them on as quietly as I can. We'll see if there's a difference. Sometimes you can cup this out, and it just makes an amazing sound when it's cupped. Sometimes it sounds really good, sometimes it's not. You can even do Now I bought this mic. I think it's lo-fi, but it might come out a little higher quality than that. Hopefully it does, because I prefer like a cross between lo-fi and higher quality, but I was saying that even if it is a higher quality sound, I don't know if it's binaural. I really like binaural, so that might be something that I upgrade to in the future. Chose to film evening. It's like, I can't really read my clock from here, 7:35-ish in the evening, so it's still kind of bright. I was happy that my family out that way, I was happy that they are quiet enough for me to record. They must be winding down too, so that's awesome. But if anybody likes that, I'll try to do a full video with the gloves at some point. Also, at this point in time, I don't really plan on showing my face in a whole video. I might do a full face little peekaboo in between a video because I know that I really love knowing what the creators look like. It just adds an element of closeness that I know that I'm not entitled to by any means, but it just kind of eliminates the mystery that kind of makes me curious when I'm just trying to relax. But for privacy reasons, I'll probably keep my face to about right here at the most, at least for now. But that's not to say that it'll be like this forever, so just bear with me and I will see what I can do. But once again, thank you so much for joining me tonight or today, whatever time it is for you, and I hope to see you in the next video.